In the previous lecture, we created the iPhone app using Xcode, and we created the iPhone network interface, the AI manager. Now we need to create the user interface to interact with the network interface. And then we will need to actually create the code within the network interface. But first, let's take a look at what we have so far. We have the Xcode project, and we have this AI manager interface. That needs to be done as well. However, we also need to create the UI, user interface, the graphical user interface. So let's go to the main storyboard. So if you guys don't have the main storyboard, that means that you forgot to create it whenever you created the Xcode project. So make sure you select the checkbox. All right, and this is the view controller of this view controller class. So they both are related to each other. All right, so whenever you add any user interface here, it will appear in the main view controller, which is, how do I know that this one is the one that starts first? Well, you can take a look at it in the AI manager, because the AI manager says that there's a default storyboard, and the default storyboard is this one here. You go to build settings, you click on storyboard, and you see that the main storyboard is the main right here. Okay, so that's how we know. There we go. All right, having said that, let's create a simple user interface. I'm going to add a prompt. So in order to do this, a prompt would be, let's say, an input. So just look for text field, or just type text, and you see the text field. We're going to drag and drop it here. By the way, to make it a bit better, click on the view of the view controller and change the color of the view to something a little easier to see. So instead of system background, let's go with system gray color. Any gray would do just fine. I'm going to go with a very light gray, just enough so that we can see the text view. So I'm going to add a text view. All right. Now inside of the text view, I'm going to say I'm going to go inside of the text field properties, and I'm going to go inside of placeholder and just say type a prompt and 3 dots. There we go. Now I'm going to add a button so that somebody clicks on that button to send the prompt. Click on the plus and look for a button. Here we go. I'm going to drag and drop that button here. And we could change the color, but for now, that's just fine. I'm going to leave it this way. And instead of button, we're going to make it say send. Okay. And then below this, we're going to add a text area. So text area. There we go. Text view. Here we go. And you can drag and drop the text view right below. Make it align with the prompt text field, and make it take all the room here. Here we go. All right, so here, remove the text, just delete it here. Don't make it editable. You can make it selectable. That's fine. And it shouldn't be interactable because it's just to show, but that's fine for now. We don't need to go into too many details. Just make sure that you remove the text. And now let's work on the constraints. So I'm going to click on the text field first, and I'm going to go in the bottom. And as you can see, there's add new constraints. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to make the top to be 20, and then 16 and 16 on the sides. And do not put constraints to margin so that it go all the way there. So 16, 16, and put the height of 34. So it will always be 34. Add 4 constraints. By the way, for the prompt, it might be a bit too small. We might need on making something a little bigger for a prompt, maybe like a text area, but that's fine for now, as long as you can input text. So add 4 constraints, there we go. Now click on the send button. By the way, change the background color of the send button so that we can see it easily. Go down, and where it says background, right here, select another color. I'm going to select, let's say, just a yellow color. It's not that great looking, but that's fine, just for the sake of learning. and add constraints. So click again on the bottom in the pane, there's add new constraints, and make it 10 at the top, and then you could put 160 on both of them. That's going to basically change the length of the button, but that's fine. And remove constraints to margin. Make sure the height is 35, and don't worry about the width. And click add for constraint. There we go. And then finally the text area. Click on text area and make sure that the text area has 10 to the bottom. So click 10. And then 16 and 16 on the sides, and do not put constraint to the margins. All right, so the height is going to be flexible. Click add the 3 constraints. We're missing one, the one at the top, so to the button, 10 is probably great. So put 10 and add 1 constraint. Here we go. All right, and we're done with the interface. Now, in the next lecture, we're going to connect the interface to the view controller. So I'm gonna, before I do that, make sure you build and make sure you see your changes inside of the simulator. So I already have the simulator running. So give it a second, we should see the changes. There we go. So we see the prompt and we can interact with the prompt. I can start typing. So far so good. And then I can click on send. Nothing's going to happen, obviously, but it's already done for the user interface. Great. So the next step in the next lecture, we're going to connect this to the view controller.